Debbie Jones here with the Thomson-McDuffie Chamber of Commerce, and we are so glad you're joining us today for our second episode of the Chamber Connect show. We want to make sure that we're giving you the latest information on what's happening in our community. If you've got a question, please don't hesitate. Post it in the comments below if you want to ask anything to our presenters. We'll do our best just to get them answered. But before we get started, if you'll look at the bottom left corner, you'll notice our sponsor for today's show is Thomson Family Dental. They are a Chamber Champion level sponsor, and we're so thankful to have them involved, not only in the Chamber, but in our community as well. So thank you, Dr. Charlie and Dr. Quinn Spicer and the rest of the gang at Thomson Family Dental. So on with our program. Let me bring in our guest today. Hey, everyone.
Hey, Debbie.
Hey.
Let me go ahead and introduce everyone. So we've got Sam Perrin, who is our UGA Archway professional right here in McDuffie County. We have Danny Bivens, who is a Senior Public Service Associate with the UGA Carl Vinson Institute. We've got Mayor Kenneth Ushery with the City of Thomson. And we have our very own Ford McDuffie Director, President actually, Don Powers, who is also our Development Authority Executive Director and also the Board Chairman of Archway. Thank you guys for being here.
Happy to do it.
Good. So we're going to go ahead and dive right in, and I'm going to go ahead and start with Sam Perrin. Sam, you're an Archway professional. Can you kind of give us an overview of the Archway program?
Sure, absolutely, Debbie. So the University of Georgia Archway Partnership is part of Public Service and Outreach at the University of Georgia, and we work on locally identified community and economic development issues in communities across Georgia. We're currently active in 7 communities, and we're in communities for long-term partnerships where we work with local funding partners like the Chamber and Ford McDuffie and the City of Thomson. Those are all part of our 12 local funding partners. But we hear from everybody here in the community about, what are the big picture issues that people in Thomson-McDuffie, Deering want to come together to work on together. So we've been going here in about 3 years or so now. And we first started up, we had some big listening sessions over at the depot and at the middle school where we asked everybody, what are the big picture things that you want to work on together over the next few years in Thomson-McDuffie? And 4 big issues emerged: leadership development, health and wellness, education and workforce development, and community image and communications. So we have what we call an issue work group for each of those priorities. Those groups meet once a month. I facilitate their meetings. The community image work group meets tomorrow morning via Zoom. I think you have an image about that there below. And those groups set goals and talk about projects, things they want to work on together to move the community forward on things that matter to people here in Thomson and McDuffie. Sometimes we're able to do that by connecting to some of our students back on campus who have expertise that lines up with what the community wants to work on. Other times, there are people here already locally who have the expertise, and it's just a matter of kind of getting folks to sit around the table together and talk about shared projects and ideas. And thirdly, we are also able to connect with faculty on campus at UGA, both the academic faculty and other public service faculty. And that sort of led to the project we're talking about today, which is the RSVP program, which is run out of the Carl Vinson Institute of Government at UGA. And so, when our community image work group got up and going, one of the first things that emerged for that group as a goal was to develop some sort of plan for downtown Thomson. And so we were able to connect back to Danny Bivens and his team at the Carl Vinson Institute at UGA, who is just the perfect resource for that. And it's been wonderful working with them for the past couple of years on this plan, and excited to see it coming together.
That's awesome, Sam. So if somebody wants to be a part of the issue work group, rather than just show up, if they want to know a little bit more, how do they reach you?
Sure. Send me an email. It's sperrin@uga.edu. Always love to hear from folks. Our meetings are always looking for new members. This is really a locally led initiative, and it's done on the backs of volunteers, who care about these issues and want to talk about things that matter to them and their community. So always looking for new group members, always looking for new ideas, and would love to hear from folks.
Okay, and so there's also another website that that has basically more about the program, because isn't that there's other communities that are part of Archway.
Right, right. Thomson-McDuffie County is one of 7 communities currently active with the Archway Partnership, where you have somebody like me, a public service faculty member from the university, who works here every day. My office is in the depot downtown, and there's 6 other folks like me spread out around the state. And you can find out more about that at our website, archwaypartnership.uga.edu.
Awesome. Now, Don, you are the board chairman of the Archway program here. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, just to echo what Sam has already said, having a bridge between the local community and a local community like ours that has lots of strategic issues that we need to work on. Having that bridge through Archway to UGA and resources like the Carl Vinson Institute of Government is just fabulous for our community. To be a little bit more positive about Sam's involvement here in the community, he does a great job of facilitating activities. He does a great job of making sure meetings are held. He does a great job of keeping us in touch with resources at the University of Georgia and other educational resources. So I can't imagine Thomson and McDuffie not going forward with Archway for many years in the future. It's a great organization, and we are, in my opinion, blessed to have them here in Thomson.
I agree. And I think, it's not something that you just sign up and you're automatically an Archway community. I mean, you're put through a process and you have to be selected. So that's pretty awesome. That
one other thing, Debbie, excuse me for interrupting, but one other thing is that, communities that Archway works in, by definition, have problems, and rural communities, especially in the South and probably everywhere, are more problematic nowadays than big cities. I guess maybe that's changing, but so Thomson-McDuffie has problems. Sam called them out a while ago, the 4 big issue work groups. In fact, we've added a 5th one to begin to deal with pandemic recovery type activities. So I can't imagine us making a lot of progress on our own without Archway being here to facilitate the work that we need to do.
That's great. All right, so we haven't heard from Mayor Ushery yet, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the questions over to you and just tell us a little bit about the importance of being accepted into this RSVP program that we're in, and what it means for our community and our businesses.
Debbie, if you will allow me, let me back up just a minute. Don talked about Archway and Sam, and we were exposed to the Archway program several years ago, and at that meeting, I think it was in Hawkins, in somewhere in South Georgia anyway. Charlie Newton, myself, and Don Powell was all sitting around the table, says, folks, help us with the problems in our community. And I'm excited that we were successfully accepted into Archway. And I think our community is beginning to feel the effects of Archway and addressing the issues that we attempted to start with. And then as we solve an issue, we'll move on to another one. So Archway is super. But today we're talking about RSVP. We were fortunate to be accepted into that program also through Archway, and we also applied through the Georgia Municipal Association, Georgia Cities Foundation. They are part of it, and they were also accepted our application to be an RSVP community, and also we received some funding from that agency. It's a process and everything we do, but we have did the right things at the right times, and before this program is over with, you will, folks that are looking and listening to us will see how fortunate we have been to have the people we have with us to help move this program forward.
Well, Mayor Usher, you mentioned something about funding, and I know that through the Archway Partnership Program that we have access to so many resources at the University of Georgia, and but with the RSVP plan, it took us a little bit of extra financial support. So can you tell us a little bit about how you went about that?
Yeah, that came about when we started this process. Don and I sat down and made a list of people that we wanted to contact. We have 40 people contributing to our RSVP funds. We have raised almost $90,000, still collecting a few dollars from those that made commitments. Government funds in this at all. The city of Thomson, Thomson-McDuffie County contributed anything to this program. It all came from local people that want to see our community come to life again. Make some things happen downtown. We all benefit from when we improve our environment and the things that we enjoy every day. We've got a lot of positive. We also got a lot of negatives, and that's what the RSVP program will help us address, and you'll see that as we go through the program today. But I'm excited. And these three gentlemen that's sitting here today have put a lot of work into it, and we're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely. So Mayor Usher, I do have a slide here that has our steering committee, if you don't mind if I bring it up and you can kind of mention some of the people on there. And it might be a little bit difficult to read.
I'll have to get my book out, Debbie, but we got Mark Swan, Bob Flanders, who is now not a member of our committee, but started out with Georgia Hobbs, Leanne Coward, Andy Knox Jr., Stephanie Ivory, Ken Sweet, who owns a local restaurant in town, Molly McDaniel, I can't read them, Debbie, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I can't get to my book, but myself, Don Powers, Elizabeth Vance, Kerry Bridges from Georgia Power. Sam is part of that group, and I think I left out one.
David Patsy Hall.
Patsy Hall.
Okay.
There you go. That's awesome. So I guess, you all can see that there's a huge buy-in from our community, and that's wonderful. So that, there is a strong importance for this program. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of steer it over to Danny now. And Danny, just tell us a little bit about the Carl Vinson Institute and the RSVP program.
Sure. Hey, everybody. It's a pleasure to talk with you today. My name is Danny Bivens, and just like Sam, I'm part of the Public Service and Outreach Division at the University of Georgia, and we work throughout the state with local governments and communities. And my area of expertise is downtown development and planning. The RSVP, or the Renaissance Strategic Visioning and Planning process, that's our premier planning service. It is part of a collaborative statewide partnership, and that is supported by the Georgia Municipal Association and the Georgia Cities Foundation. And we began this partnership back in 2013. And since that time, we have done 20 RSVPs all across the state. I always like to say, though, that we work with communities that are already on the rise. We see the RSVP as a catalyst that speeds up downtown development efforts. And when we come to a community and do an RSVP, we know we are not starting from scratch. And when we came to Thomson, that was abundantly clear to us. Thomson was already moving in the right direction and would be an ideal RSVP candidate. So we were very pleased to see when Thomson applied. And as the mayor stated, GMA selects communities, and the year Thomson was selected, that was the only community that we worked on for an RSVP, and GMA supported it with a seed grant. The other thing is Thomson did the best application we had seen to date, and that is now the model application that we show other communities on how to apply and how to get community support. So it was from the very get-go, we saw that Thomson was going to be a special place to work. You'd already worked on streetscapes, new restaurants, a restored historic depot, your governmental center, and so much more shows the commitment to downtown development. So when we start an RSVP and we start that planning process, we rely on broad stakeholder involvement. We like to say we're not creating a plan for ourselves, we're creating your plan or your community's plan. And the best way to do that is to talk to people and listen. So step one was all about that. We conducted one-on-one interviews. We did focus groups. We had that big town hall meeting at the depot with over 125 people in standing room only. It was a great turnout. And we also conducted a survey. All we heard from well over 1,000 people. And we also had that 15-person steering committee. And what they did was they reviewed all that community input. They went through it and they figured out what the top issues, those problems or those issues that needed to be addressed in order for this planning process to be considered a success by the community. That steering committee came up with 4 top issues. So we looked at the look of buildings, connectivity, activating your downtown, and greening and beautification. Those were the 4 top issues that this planning process addressed. And then we got to step 2, and that's when we create designs and try to interpret what we heard from the community, your input, your desires, your visions into those visual images. After all, what we have figured out is that those pictures are really worth 1,000 words and help that entire community see what the potential can be and motivates everybody to continue to working to create that vision. And then finally, we have the 3rd step, and it's all about strategic planning. The steering committee breaks down the big master plan and the vision and achievable goals, and they determine who is going to do what, when, and so the plan can be implemented. And I'm very pleased to let y'all know that long before we finished, the writing the plan and printing the plan, implementation has already begun. And that is, great to see, but that's rare to see. And again, that's what makes Thomson so special. Thank you, Debbie.
That's awesome. So you're using us as an example, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're promoting Thomson wherever we go.
That's wonderful. And so how many other communities have you been in that you've implemented this program?
Debbie, we've done 20 RSVPs, but we've worked in about 50 communities in different ways since 2013 on downtown types of plans and visions.
Okay, so how does this set us apart as far as this type of plan and other plans that are out there?
Well, you might say I'm biased because it's our plan, but I think it is truly the premier planning, downtown planning program in the state. It's also at a much more affordable rate. You've raised a lot of funds that paid for the plan, but what's amazing is those funds are actually going to implementation, projects and concepts and ideas. So it didn't all just go to a plan. Again, that's not what our goal is. It's not to have something sit on a shelf, but it's about implementation. And that's what I would say, again, is unique about Thomson. The steering committee and everybody we worked with was that eye from the get-go on coming up with ideas that could be implementable and we could start right away, not just stuff that's pie in the sky.
Awesome. All right, well, let's take a quick moment here and thank our sponsor. We're going to take a 30-second break.
This is Dr. Charlie Spicer, and I want to invite you to become part of our dental family. We pride ourselves in customer service and giving all our patients that small town family feel of top-of-the-line advanced technology. From cleanings to cosmetic dentistry to Botox and implants, we're your full-service hometown dental practice. We are also a proud sponsor of the Thomson-McDuffie Chamber of Commerce. We are located on West Hill Street, across from the Family Y in Thomson. Let us provide your dental care with all that Southern hospitality has to offer.
And we're back. So we just heard from Danny about the RSVP process and what they went through getting it started here. And now I'm going to pass it over to Don Powers to talk a little bit about that plan. You know, we've received the final plan. We have it up virtually, but we have maybe a handful of copies that he's showing you right there. So Don, if you want to go ahead and take it from here.
Yeah, Debbie, as Danny said, and this to me is a big key, is that the visuals in the plan they're not hard and fast, here's what you should do type visuals, but they're visuals to show how buildings can change and take shape, and how things can look different after you have an effort like this. So each of these slides that we'll show have an implementation scheme behind them. Some of them are short term, as Danny mentioned. Mayor Ursery, the Knox family that has a lot of property in downtown. Others have really already been active, and we'll see some of that, some of those in the slides as we go through them. This is a beautiful picture that's on the screen of the depot, and some of the greenery that the city in general and Mayor Ursery in particular keeps active with and beautifies downtown. And in the process, that was one of the things that people loved about downtown is flowers that are planted along Main Street in the pots, and they wanted to see more of that. And in fact, that's one of the main sections of our plan, is to make downtown more green and beautified. And so we'll see that as we go through. If you could just to start casually going through, here is in the top left-hand corner is a picture of shot down Central Avenue, which is a road right behind High Rail, and it looks into the side of what I call the old McClellan's building, or Y130. And the suggestion here was a short-term proposal to do some beautification, and the rendering of that is in the top right-hand corner. And then we know that the owners of that building have a hankering to build some loft apartments in downtown Thompson. So that's the rendering that UGA put together for us of what could potentially the front of that building look like. If you'll flip to the next slide, this is actually the short-term proposal that you just saw in the prior slide, and the family that owns the building has already hired an artist to put that in place, and that's actually been done. So that's what Danny was talking about when he was talking about our crew already getting active even before the plan is rolled out. Here's another example of just some minor paint and tables and chairs. We'll see that in another slide, where you can dress up and start using the platform at the depot as kind of public space. It's designed to accentuate Thompson's past. That paint job you see in the lower right-hand corner is it comes from a sign that has been at the depot since I've been in town, and it just shows directions both ways that the train runs. And then if you flip to the next slide, this is how, as we develop the platform as public space, here's what it could look like. Will it look like that? Perhaps not exactly, but it gives us ideas to get started on and to start cleaning up and better utilizing this as public space. Another big area in town, of course, is the Knox Shopping Center, and that's essentially in the old days, it was the center of commerce in downtown, probably even more so than Railroad Street, at least in my younger days here. And so in the top left-hand corner, you see kind of how it looks now. It doesn't look terrible now, but there is room for improvement. And so the design group at UGA took a look at a couple of different options, and option one has some landscape islands, and then option two really gets radical and changes things around in a big way. And I'm happy to report that the city has already hired an engineering firm, and if as a local you saw some surveying going on in that area, The surveying was to support some of the design work that the local engineering firm is doing to locate utilities, delineate property lines, and give us a good map of who owns what and where all the water and sewer and stormwater is. So then we can begin to make changes, and we know what's below some of this asphalt when we start changing it. So this is a big project. This is an example of what I would call a long-term type implementation item. It could go quicker. You could do some of the items in option one, but it requires, as you can see, it's going to require some funding, and it's going to require changing some things around. And those are a little bit more difficult, and we kind of categorize those as long-term implementation plans. Here's another great idea, and you can see several things in this slide. You can see over on the left side some imaginative ways to direct people to parking. You see that free parking and the hand pointing to the area along General Street for parking. Of course, you see High Rail, which our team member Ken Sweet really beat the RSVP plan to the punch by going ahead and dropping that beautiful building right in the middle of downtown. And it's, of course, a showpiece. And then you can see on the right side how we could light the street up at night with some of the decorative lighting that you see and make it safer, make it more attractive. And I think this plan, I think we'll see it in a minute, has some really good ideas about how to revive General Street and the buildings along General Street to make it, a great walkway for walking and and to clean that area up where it won't just be a parking lot. You can see in this slide, General Street to the top left is what it looks like now. Then what the depiction in the lower left-hand corner is some trees, some decorative lighting, and also extending the brick road from one end to the other. Right there where it shows in the forefront of that picture, that's currently concrete, I think, or asphalt. And the idea is to bring the brick street from Main Street all the way to the Government Center. And then you see on the left, something that we should be doing, and it just takes outsiders coming in and looking at things with a different eye, putting some decorative barriers around our dumpsters and trash receptacles where that's just not part of what you see when you're walking in that area. And then, of course, to illustrate how it would look at night, this does not show the string of lights, but this shows another way that area could really look good when it's lit up at night. It's safer. It allows people the opportunity to walk. It's it could turn into a great pedestrian walk at night, and there are restaurants all around. There's parking around. It's just a great rendering of what that can look like. That, again, is an example of a longer term type implementation plan.
So Don, you've mentioned this several times throughout those slides. Having somebody come in with a fresh eye, a lot of it has been just a coat of paint and some greenery, trees, things like that. Have you noticed? I mean, is that what you see? I guess this could go to Danny too. Is that what you're seeing in other areas? Is a lot of it takes just a fresh coat of paint or some plants?
Well, Debbie, I like to say that that's where you should start, right? There's only so much time and so much money. And if that wasn't true, we wouldn't need a plan. All this would already be completed. But with just limited resources and time, you have to build support, and you have to also show that you're implementing your plan. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes all you need to do is kind of fresh set of eyes to be able to look at things. And but truth be told, this is what your community talked a lot about. They love the buildings and they love the downtown, but they were concerned with just what the buildings look like. And so again, with, as Don pointed out, some inexpensive fixes, string lights, not that expensive, some paint and some nice signage, It's about highlighting your assets. You have great parking in the rear of your buildings, and a lot of downtowns do not have that. In fact, you have alleyways, and a lot of downtowns don't have those either for trash receptacles and back of the house things. So you guys are set up to succeed and be successful. But putting out parking for people that are not familiar, and then making sure that it's lit well and feels safe so people will use it, is key. Absolutely.
Well, Danny, you talked about parking, and that kind of runs us into our next slide here. Don, you want to take it?
Yeah, again, it illustrates what Danny just said. Here is an artist's rendering of how we can imaginatively direct people to a ton of parking behind the buildings on the west side of Main Street. And I think by having somebody like the design group at UGA come in and look at this, it separates the vision from what we normally see. We know that if we turn down that street, there's parking in the rear of those buildings, but our visitors don't know it, and people coming through who we want to hopefully stop and shop, they don't know it. And so this is just a cool way to perhaps even get our local art community involved, to dress up the side of the building, and it's a great wayfinding sign. And it's just an example of having another set of eyes. And I can't say enough about Clark Stansel and his ideas. He's a member of Danny's staff, and he has helped immeasurably, he and his team, kind of take our thoughts and our ideas and paint that picture where we can look at it. Here's another, this one illustrates several different points. You'll see this scene later in one of our long-term plans, where we're talking about taking the area in the background of this parking lot and creating something really special for activities downtown. But to this slide, it has its genesis over there on the left side, where it was a parking lot. We put it in when we built the government center just to have a spot for overflow parking. And then to the idea in the RSV plan about getting some greenery and making things look a little better. You can see the rendering. The big picture in the middle is a rendering of trees. And then Kenneth and the city, along with the county's financial help, got busy and planted 43 trees, not necessarily in that area. A lot of them were in that area, but they planted trees along First Avenue, planted some trees in front of the depot. And that's just an example of getting after it and doing these short-term things and build that excitement that there's a plan underway, that something is happening, and hopefully generate energy for other people to come along, both financially, both creatively, and with good hard work. And those are the three components that are going to make any plan work: money, creativity, and elbow grease. And this plan is going to require all of those. So, those things that require a lot of money, they kind of get pushed to the long-term piece of it, where you can figure out how to pay for it and not be nuts about using financial resources. Creativity, we have a wonderfully creative team helping us, and we got great creativity here in Thomson. And then, as Danny has pointed out, most folks in this community are not shy about working. And so I think we have the pieces in place to be successful as we go forward, implementing what is a long-range strategy. This is not a 12-month strategy. This is a 5 to 10-year strategy.
All right. Well, let's go back. Some of our building renderings here.
Yeah, here's and anybody else can weigh in that would like to. But here is in the top left-hand corner again is a picture of kind of how the lay of the land looked when we were developing the plan, and then the idea in the middle of the picture is how those two buildings can be spruced up. And as you see, the idea of upstairs living and downstairs retail. I mean, the building on the left is just dynamite looking. And the family that owns that building they're interested. They've already done some maintenance work. They're ready for the plan and the incentive piece of the plan to be rolled out, where we can get busy putting financial incentives in place to help them complete it. And the building on the right is that's Watson and Knox building, and they got busy turning it into exactly what the plan suggested. That picture at the left-hand corner showed how the design team at UGA visualized that building, and then to that family's credit, there it is on the right. It's already been done. And that's to Danny's example about how a coat of paint and some imaginative signs can really make a difference. And that building looks great.
And that's just one point being made, that you had a building owner that just needed some sort of direction to go in, didn't want to just go ahead and start renovating a building until they had an idea of what our community was really looking for.
Right.
And Debbie, if I can add to that, and his family moved forward with that building, but we've also had another property owner in downtown ask for some help to try to figure out what to do with the face of that building. So that just, when it starts to grow, it grows, and that's a positive.
Kenneth, to that point, I'm gonna put Danny on the spot here a little bit. The RSVP team develops a plan, but they don't go away, and they are their first activity out of the chute after the plan is to do what you just described, get a rendering of another building on Main Street and help the owner make decisions about how to do a facade and make improvements on a building that fits the flavor of downtown and stimulates others to start taking a look at it and see how they can improve their buildings.
David, do we have a picture of Ivory's on Railroad
I don't have one right handy,
Street?
but I can pull it up in just a moment.
And I'd like if you could throw that on the screen, the way it looks now, and Danny Nim's rendering of what it could look like. I met with Stephanie, the owner of that building, this week, and we started the process to get prices to do something with the doors. And there it is. The bottom part of that is what that building could look like with a coat of paint and putting some new doors in, and a shed roof over the existing doors would make a tremendous difference on Railroad Street. And Stephanie, the owner of that property, is excited about it. And she and I we're putting the cost figures together now to see what possibly grant money we can do and what loan money we can do to make this project come to end.
And looks
to make it.
Oh, that looks great. That's a great example.
About that, Don.
And to that end, Stephanie and her family, including her late husband, have always been huge positive economic force in that area. And I look forward to seeing that building look like that painting.
All right, so let's take it to this other one. I put it up there earlier, but we got kind of segue. So here we go back to.
But Debbie, this is another focus on Journal Street, and that building with the Coke sign in the bottom left-hand corner. That is the Knox and Swan Law Office, and if you look in the top left-hand corner, you can kind of see the faded version of that sign, and in the lower left is our design team has put the sign back and the Coke sign, and we got the family hooked up with Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola is going to do some underwriting to bring that sign back up. And the back of that building, you can see, has been dressed up in the lower left-hand picture, and again, that is designed to stimulate ideas about how you can use the back of that building for adaptive reuse, law office in the front, and perhaps something different in the rear. The building on the right is the old fire station, and you can see that it has a bell tower on the upper side of it. And this family, again, it's the Knox family has they've hired an engineering firm, or in the final stages of hiring an engineering firm to take a look at that building and see if it's best suited for residential on both floors, or does it make sense to put residential on the top and some retail, as is depicted in the picture, on the bottom floor. So again, I want to say this is just kind of let's get some ideas going. And this picture got the family busy to try to figure out how to get that building in good shape. And to me, it's a fabulous looking building. And if we wind up with something that looks similar to that in the next 2 or 3 years, it's going to be special, and it'll make Journal Street even more special.
Don, can I interject right here? Would you put that one back up, Debbie, to the right of the building that Don was talking about with the new face on it? There was an old cargo container in that alleyway. Danny alluded to alleyways in our city. That alleyway connects the shopping center to Journal Street, and with the artist rendering there, a little shrubbery and some greenery, and then we'll have to put some kind of walkway through there. But that opens up the shopping center to Journal Street, and that's not an expensive venture, but it's just one that it takes a little time to get done. But that looks good, the alleyway.
That's a great point, Kenneth. And that connectivity, we have other examples of linking different parking areas together, and that's kind of what got us started on looking at the Knox Shopping Center and how does traffic flow in and out of that. We looked at that slide a few slides back. Here is another picture of the back of the Knox and Swan building, and again, this is a short-term dressing up of the back of that building. We have a great musical heritage here with Willie McTell and the festival, and so we use that theme throughout the plan. In fact, walking trails that are called music miles, and these potential artist renderings on the backs of these buildings are great ways to activate and to improve buildings and just make downtown look better in the short term, as we are transitioning to adaptive reuse of these buildings in the long term. Let's see what you got next, Debbie.
Righty.
Yeah, this is really a great piece of the plan. And just a little background here, Kenneth and I worked on improving the stormwater features and the sidewalks along the area by the Brickyard. And down in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see what we have finally settled on. But Kenneth and the council and GDOT, I mean, this project has taken 7 or 8 years to get to this point, and it's finally ready to go out for bids. But until we involved the design team at UGA, we really weren't satisfied with the changes that GDOT wanted to make in that area. And dovetailing with one of the biggest things we heard about downtown during our listening sessions in the RSVP effort is traffic is too fast, trucks come through too fast. So this whole idea of putting pedestrian islands and some calming devices on traffic, you'll see it here, and this actually will happen in the next couple of years, maybe the next 12 months, Kenneth. I'm not sure exactly what the timing is on this project now, but it's close.
It's going out for bid, Don, in October. DOT they've finished the final set of plans, and is going out for bid. I think the bid will come in October on that project. That project was a part of our T-Splosh money that we were successful in getting several years, almost 8 years ago. It passed, and then we had this project, one of Thompson's projects, and it's taken a long time to get to this point. But as Don alluded to, we had, and we talk about this all the time, we got 460 18-wheelers that come through our downtown every day. And we were looking for ways to try to slow that down. DOT suggested if we cut it back to 2 lanes and put some shrubbery and some landscaping in, that it will have a tendency to make people slow down. So this version, when it hits the ground, we will really feel the effects of hoping to remove some of those trucks off our main street. But also in that same process, everybody that lives here knows that we got a stormwater problem there at the Brickyard, and it's a safety hazard. So this will clean that up too also.
Right. If you go to the next slide, Debbie, you can see how just that kind of thinking got our RSVP design team energized about perhaps taking that theme all the way through town. So this to me is dynamite looking rendering. As Kenneth alluded to, the first slide that you saw in front of the Brickyard is funded by T-Splosh 1, I'll call it T-Splosh 1, and T-Splosh 2, which starts in 2022, was just approved by the regional voters. And we have this project in T-Splosh 2. So that's an example of something that takes a lot of money, and it takes different agencies coming together, and it takes time. And you won't see this right away unless we figure out an imaginative way to get started on it earlier. But it takes millions of dollars to put something like that in place. And you have to have the sales tax vote and some alternative funding sources to make something like that happen.
Don, may I add to that? You see it's right there at High Rail, but that project will carry all the way to the First Baptist Church red light at the Augusta Warrenton Highway. And you will see the same effect there all the way, maybe not the size of the trees, but you will see some greenery and dividing of the highway all the way to the Baptist Church. There again, that's adding to trying to slow truck traffic down and making the road more attractive.
Putting some sidewalks in place. The sidewalks that are along that area from the railroad track to the Baptist Church are yesterday's sidewalks. We need some new ones, but it takes a lot of money, and the T-Splosh is a good source of funds for that.
Okay, well, so Don, you and Mayor Usher have touched on some building renderings and some artwork, but then you've got another special project that we'd like to show everyone that could really impact our quality of life here.
Oh yeah, yes. So Kenneth, you may want to take the lead on this. This really came from your brainstorming and thinking about how to activate downtown. So take it away.
Those that are familiar with the overflow parking here at the Government Center, we've got a green grassy area just to the east of that. We had talked about some kind of park, a splash park, playground area, and Danny's group put this rendering together. You got a playground area with a pavilion, restroom facilities there, and then the splash park and 2 small dog walk parks, fenced in areas. But this is on the sales tax for Thomson-McDuffie County in the November election. If we pass the sales tax again, which is, I think, will be number 7, Don, or 8?
7.
If it passes, folks, we will see this happen. Now, the renderings may not look like the final renderings that as was presented to us, but they did an excellent job putting it together with a railroad theme. So we will try to go as close as we can to that. But main thing, Debbie, you touched on it, a quality of life issue for our community. And this is something that's needed, and I think will help improve not only the downtown area and draw people to downtown. That's part of what we're trying to do, but just a quality of life for everybody.
Well, and I can see this being a venue for people to have, birthday parties and any other kind of gatherings, as far as like family reunions. What a great place to have a family reunion where your kids can run free and you can actually have those conversations with those relatives you haven't seen in such a long time. So I think that would be a much needed venue for our area. Let's see what else we have. I think that's all that I have to show on the plan. Is there anything else that y'all would like to add?
Debbie, I want to add a little bit to what Kenneth just said. Is he and I and others have been in the government. He's been in the government for a long time, and I for several years. And when we were working in 2008, 2009, even before, when Bob Flanders was the city administrator, the government center was seen as a central to any kind of development in downtown. And I think by adding this park and continuing to make the government center a place where you can do business, where you can relax, where you can bring your kids and be outdoors, where you can be close to downtown businesses and support them. The catalyst for a lot of that is putting the government center downtown. And, other communities may have decided to go outside, especially since it was largely a county courthouse, go outside the city limits and add a big new building with lots of land. And to our county's credit and to the cooperation between the city and the county, I don't know if anybody who's listening remembers what it used to look like in that area, but it was not something that was ever going to be revitalized. And so, in my opinion, having the government step in and build those new facilities that are now paid for, and then further add to it with some of these activities that the RSVP process told us was important to our citizens, just in my opinion, a good way of listening to the community and putting those resources in place.
You brought up a very good point about the government building and how much it meant to our downtown. So all these other added elements that the RSVP plan has brought forth has really given us a good glimpse of what our potential could be. And not only just for us that live here, but maybe those that are looking to move here and open up a business here, that they could see that, we are looking to upgrade in some areas, and this is what we'd like for it to be like. So I'm excited about that. We also have the final plan, and I've got the link here below if you want to go. I know it's a lengthy link, but if you want to see the final plan in its entirety, you can go to that site. You can also go to the Chamber website, and under the visitors link, you can look under there and you'll see the RSVP plan link. So if you want to go to that, then you can see everything that's in there. And I think you're all going to be in for a treat to see what our possibilities are. And like they said, it's not something that's going to happen overnight, but with anything, you got to have a goal and you got to have a plan. So just keep that in mind, that we are trying to do some positive things. Even with the pandemic going, there is some exciting things happening. So we're really glad to have that. I'm looking to see if we had any questions. I'm not seeing any in the comments below, but if you would like to ask a question, now's a good time to do it. But while I'm waiting for comments, I want to thank our sponsors for today again, Thomson Family Dental for sponsoring this program. They are so wonderful in helping us out. So I appreciate them. And if you are looking to sponsor a Chamber Connect show in the future, you get like you saw earlier, you get a 30-second show commercial. So take full advantage of that. Send us an email here at the Chamber, and we'll definitely set you up. Any final remarks, guys? Danny, anything?
Yeah, I'd like to say thank you to the Thompson community. It's been a pleasure to work with everybody. And I'd also like to thank, the mayor and Don. Y'all's leadership has been absolutely amazing. And I have found that when you have the mayor involved in a process like this, there's a much better chance of the work actually being implemented. That being said, though, a lot of times that involvement isn't there. And if you take a look at this RSVP and the strategic planning section, not only will you see what Don alluded to, all the ways that it's going to be implemented, but you're also going to see how many times the mayor is the leading person. So y'all are a great community with great leadership. And I have no doubt this plan will not sit on a shelf but get implemented. So it's been a pleasure to work with y'all.
David, if I could, please, Danny, from all of us that served on the committee and Don and myself, we appreciate what you've done and what the university has done for us. And without Sam keeping us organized, keeping us on track, we wouldn't be where we are today. But there's a lot of opportunities ahead of us to make our community a better place. And we need people stepping up and helping us carry out some of these projects. We got a perfect plan. Well, nothing's ever perfect, but we got a plan that we can go by and we can adapt as we go down the road. But thanks to you and the Fanning Institute and all the students at the University of Georgia that helped us with some of this stuff. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Even the Carl Vincent Institute.
Yeah.
Thank y'all. Carl Vince. But and I'm a fan of Sam too. Sam, we couldn't have done it without you. We so appreciate
Thank you all
your help.
very much. I'm thrilled to get the opportunity to work in Thompson. Archway is thrilled to be here in Thomson-McDuffie County, and just very thankful to the community and our local funding partners, as well as the state and the university, for giving us the opportunity to be here and to get to work on exciting stuff like this with all of you. And really, as Danny said, it's the folks here in Thomson-McDuffie County that make the difference in this and moving these sorts of projects forward, because this is really the community's plan. Y'all built it, and the community is going to be what moves it forward. We're excited to see it.
Well, everyone, I want to appreciate all of you for joining us today, and I want to thank our presenters for being with us. With that, I'm going to call it a wrap, and we will see you next time on our Chamber Connect show. Have a great day.